there it is. So it's pretty much similar to last year for the most part. Brisbane Geelong again. I mean, maybe I can see Geelong falling off a little bit. Brisbane, I'm happy with. I mean, really from second to probably really 10th is probably about right, I reckon. Freo, I mean, maybe fifth or sixth probably more accurately, but I can see them getting top four. I mean, they are still a fairly young list, so that's my main concern with Freo. I mean, on their day, they can be one of the best teams in the comp, but um, yeah, probably need to win a final first for me to really take them seriously. But look, I can see them getting third. They do have that home ground advantage. Adelaide, I mean, they did finish minor premiers last season, um, and hopefully for them, I reckon they can. It's more about them winning a final. They're still fairly young too, compared to a lot of the other sides around here. So yeah, maybe home and away ladder, but for finals, wait and see. And then with Hawthorn, I mean, the thing is, Hawthorn made the prelim, but almost missed out the finals entirely last season, which sort of really shows. No, the top, 8 was that close. So I mean, they could probably finish as low as probably eighth, and then get close to the top two. I just don't think their midfield is quite as strong as what you say Brisbane is, or even a Geelong, and even some of these other sides as well. I don't know. The midfield just, and even their forward line. I mean, Gudston, he's not going to get 70 again this season, and who else is going to step up? That's my main concern with them. Is Mitch Lewis going to remain fit? Probably a little bit overrated, but it's hard to tell. Yeah, every side's got their strength and weakness, even Brisbane. Um, and then we've got, you could argue their small defenders is probably their weakness now for Brisbane, with Starcevic going. And is Kenzin Coleman going to come back and be fit? That's the thing as well. So everyone has their weaknesses and a bit of uncertainty. GWS is probably about right. Maybe 7th or 8th. Maybe you could swap them for a Gold Coast. Again, with most of these sides around here, it's very difficult. I mean, probably even from 2nd to probably 10th. And then Bulldogs again, their fence, but their midfield and forward line's great. I just think against the top teams, they're sort of on par with the midfield. It's going to be, they're going to struggle a bit, but if the midfield gets a roll on, they're going to be a tough team to beat. In Sydney, yeah, I'm surprised it's this low. I mean, I think people are honestly overrating Sydney a bit. I know they got Curnow in, and he can probably be the best forward in the comp on his day, but I just think, Sydney usually they disappoint usually when it matters. And I just can't see them. I mean, they can make top four, but are they really that good? I guess I got Heaney, Warner, and Goulden. They're obviously good players. Guess I brought in Curnow. Yeah, but what about their defenders, Blakey? I mean, they probably need better one-on-one defenders. Maybe I'm misreading Sydney wrong. I mean, they missed the finals. I know they had injuries issues last year, but you think, a team that made the grand final last year should at least make finals or top 8. I know it was tough last season. I don't know. I could be wrong about Sydney. I just look at their list and think, there's better teams out there. One player. I mean, it's not like cricket, basketball where one player has a huge impact on a team. Greatly with AFL, yes, having a couple one player in is good, but having like 22 spots in the field, so the impact is not going to be as big. I mean, they do need a forward, Sydney, but I don't know. There's other teams I reckon are better position. Are they better than Brisbane or emotionally stable as Geelong? Are they going to have improvement from the younger players like Freo Adelaide? I don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, they should win most of their games against the teams below them, but and then we've got St Kilda here, which is probably about right. I mean, some people may have them higher since the players they've brought in, but I'm going based off last year, and they only really beat some of the weaker sides, or they only just beat Essendon and would have lost the game. I think we didn't even have Merritt in the team either, so they only just, if Redmond got that goal after Siren, they would have lost that game, and they only just beat North Melbourne and Richmond. So, I mean, they have brought in some good players, so it is an improvement from last season. We St Kilda there. There's no real, they haven't, not terrible, but no, they need a couple more good young players, a couple good players in, I reckon. Some, top talent. I mean, I guess Nazaya, he's a player that's improved greatly over last season. They've got him. They do lose Steele. But they do get to Conning and a few other players in, but I'm not 100% sold on St Kilda. I could be wrong about this. They could finish up high. I let them prove me wrong. But is Max King going to come in? Do they have the four lines to really do it? I don't think so. And then you've got Collingwood, which I would have thought might have had them in the 8, but people have actually. I guess I'm not the only one thinking they're going to do a massive drop off with the 8 and the way they finished last season. Look, I could be wrong about this. I can't see them making the top 8, but are they going to go far with the aging list? And Elliott had a great season last season. He's getting old. Can he pull it off again? And they're losing Myercheck to, again, one of their better forwards. I just don't know who's going to kick their goals. Is it going to be Elliott again? So that's probably the main concern. I guess defensively, that's probably their strongest area. So I'll probably keep them in games. I can't really see them getting belted. They're usually a good side of not getting belted. They did get smashed against Hawthorn in that one game. But look, they'll probably have a lot of close losses, I reckon. But I can't really, they really should have probably got some recruits, some forwards, and they haven't really done that. I just can't see it. And Carlton, 8 wins. It's probably about right. I mean, they're having a few players going out. Might be better for the culture of the club. I just do think the players that they did leave, De Conning, Curnow, particularly underperformed. I just think with Carlton, I reckon last year they should have just played a bit more of their youth. I think some of their games, and they haven't really done that, which sort of puts them a bit behind the 8 ball with some of the sides around them in terms of youth development. I mean, look, it's hard to tell with Carlton. I don't think they're going to be the worst out of the worst, but I could be wrong. It's hard to read with some of the younger players. Just haven't played enough games to really get a proper read on them and how they're going to cope with AFL. And with pre-season matches, they just beat Brisbane recently with it, but it's a pre-season matchup. So I'm not quite confident, but it's hard to tell with the next bottom list. And then you've obviously got Essendon here, which probably one of the hardest teams to predict, simply because a lot of injuries. But I think a lot of people forget, Essendon were near the 8 before the injuries, and same the year before. So I think on paper, when they have a full fit list, which is never really there, they can probably compete for the top 8. But it's going to be tough. I think mainly with the forward line too. It's probably where it's been really, where the disappointing factor is. I think if the forward line was better, they would have won a few more games last season. I think Peter Wright's alright. Great player on his day. But it's more the other players around him. Is Kako going to improve? If can Langford get back to his 2024 form? Who knows? I think Caddy will improve if he gets fit and hope he can kick 30 to 40 goals. But I think a lot of people are underrating Cardwell and Durham. They're decent players. And Parrish come back in and get fit. So I don't think the midfield is as bad as what people are saying. If defence can get up and running, they might be able to hold up and keep Essendon in matches. I reckon that's possible. So I reckon not a bottom 4 team, I think, when fully fit. It really depends. If the back line can stay fit and healthy, I reckon it'll keep them in games. So as a result, I do have them better than a bottom 4 team. There are some people even saying they could make 10th, which I reckon is possible if there's large amounts of improvement in some of their players. I think if Gresham, Perkins, and some of the players underperformed last year do improve again or go back, to bounce back, there is a chance. I think that's what a lot of other people aren't factoring in. You've got Perkins, you've got Gresham. You had a lot of players underperform last season or were coming off injuries. And if they improve, just bounce back a little bit, that'll make Essendon a much better team, as well as with improvement from Kako, Caddy, and even Roberts. He's on track. So I think they're better than what other people say, but it's more either thick and right, and are we going to see improvements from other players? And probably the main forward line as well is where the biggest issue lies. Can who can kick multiple goals other than Peter Wright? And that's where the question lies. Langford can do it, but he might struggle early on to come back from injury. But who knows? North Melbourne, I thought I might have him up a bit higher. It's just tough because you got a lot of teams around the same area, same sort of position. I think with North Melbourne, I think they'll be in more games this season. They usually have 1 or 2 good quarters and then usually get swept away by either a bad second half or a bad first half against the better teams. Are they better than Essendon and Carlton? I can see them finish higher than them, maybe Collingwood. But I think can they finish better than St Kilda or Sydney? Maybe St Kilda, but maybe not Sydney. I mean, this one could probably prove me wrong. They could have a massive leap year. As we've seen in the past, we've had sides like Hawthorn the other year. Adelaide last year, they could bounce back from bottom 4 and finish first, something wild like that. The Adelaide did see improvement in the back half of that other year of 2024. So I could probably see that with North Melbourne doing that. They can, jump ahead of the middle pack, or at least get in the top 8. Or to sit in defence is the reason why they won't get there. Their forward line and midfield great. They've shown that a few times. They're getting a lot of credit by getting some good scores on the board, but can Charlie Coleman, be a solid defender? And he's shown that against Melbourne when they won by 10 goals last year, that he can do that. It's probably more the other defenders as well. They haven't really recruited anyone, so I'm back to really support that. So look, I reckon I won't get as belted as much, and they might be in games more, but I just think when things go wrong defensively, it's a huge concern. And they haven't been Essendon since 2016, and we haven't really been that great. So I mean, they're probably it's a tough one. I mean, this could backfire. If there's a team that sort of around this area to go up, it could be North. I reckon maybe St Kilda, but then Melbourne. I mean, this one's a tough one as well. I mean, they were competitive last year for a lot of their matches. Their percentage wasn't that bad. They competed well against some of the top teams and probably should have won against Collingwood a few times, actually. Should have beat Collingwood twice, but close against Bulldogs. So on their day, they can compete with the best, but they've lost Petrarca, Oliver. I just don't think they're there. They've brought in Steele, but again, I think now they're starting to be on the rebuild. They probably realise that. So, I mean, look, I can see them on their day competing up against the better sides, and they might even finish higher than all these teams here. I can see that. I could be wrong. But yeah, I'm just got this bad feel with Melbourne. I don't know what it is, but it's got this bad vibe. They're going to finish, bottom four for some reason. I don't know what it is. I just got that sense. In Port Adelaide, yeah, last year was disappointing. I don't know. I mean, their defence probably isn't quite as good as some of the other sides. I think when fit, Essendon's defence is better. Even Carlton's, and definitely Collingwood's. I guess the midfield's decent with Rosie, Butters. One just sort of pass it. And Horn Francis, if he goes to another level as well, can he push him up? And that's valid reasons to keep him up higher. But yeah, I just don't see it. I think their forward line, other than maybe Mitch Georgiadis, isn't good enough. Their defence isn't quite good enough. Because as you can see, on their day, they can be the worst team in the comp. They had a couple, belting. So that's where the huge concern is from Port. I could be wrong about this, but at least for the other teams here, I can see a sense of improvement. With Essendon, with players coming back and some of the younger players and players who are out of form coming back to form, I can see that happening. North Melbourne, I can see a massive improvement. I guess maybe Carlton, I don't know. Still got Cripps and a few other players there, but I think Port Adelaide, there, I just can't see any really improvement, and same with Melbourne. Richmond, West Coast, probably the obvious ones here. I mean, Richmond, they won more than what I expected last season. They still had a poor season, though. On their day, again, they could be a terrible team, but they do have a few upsets against some of the teams around them. So, look, I can see them winning a few games, but I just think there's still a young list, and you look on their team, and it's like, who's an absolute gun player. I think Tom Lynch has probably passed it a bit. Seems to have injuries, and he's had a bit of discipline issues on field. Gives away a lot of free kicks. So look, I think Boston was all right there. Sort of saved him a bit last year, being in the back. But I guess Trento is probably their best player as well, Hopper. But they're not, as good as some of the other teams as best players. You got Sherry, you've got Sheasel, you got LDU, you got Larky. They're probably better than any other player in Richmond. Maybe Trento is probably not far behind. And you got Essendon Parrish on his day. You've got Merritt, even Peter Wright on his day. And if Ridley can get firing, you've got more superstars in these teams here. You got Gawn here, you got Pickett. I just don't see that with Richmond, and maybe Trento, but is he really that good? I guess he's okay. Lynch on his day is good. But are they going to be fit and running? I don't know. There's another thing too that Richmond have had the last few seasons, the injuries to some of their best players as well, which doesn't help. But I just don't think their best players is as good as some of these other teams' best players. I could be wrong though. We were wrong about them a little bit last season. Still finished poor. And the West Coast is probably the most obvious one. They're probably by far the worst team. I mean, maybe it's like the best player was Baker last year. Like, he's good, but if he is your best player, then you're in a bit of trouble. So they probably have the worst best player. Now, I think if Reed can develop into an excellent player, there is hope there, but it's just the team around him is just god awful, really. One win last season. Had a few close games, but they weren't able to, grab a win when they were probably in a winning position. I guess they were up by 6 goals against Essendon or 5 goals, and they lost it. In a good winning position, they lost it. They choked. Probably should have won from there. And they had a few other games where it was close. They did beat St Kilda, but one win's not good enough, and I just can't really see how much they're going to win too many more. I mean, they should win a couple of home games, and I think, if Harley Reid improves and becomes a lot better player, there is probably a bit of chance there, but they're just so far behind everyone else. Maybe close against Richmond, but And they might be able to pull off an upset against Port or maybe Essendon. But I just can't see it with them. And then the finals here, Gold Coast, St Kilda. Gold Coast should win. And we're back the back Bulldogs. And then we've got Lions here, should win. Oh, it's at the G, Hawthorn, but I can see Bulldogs winning that. And you got Giants here. Actually, I reckon Bulldogs will win that. Oh, at the G, Geelong. Adelaide, since it's at Adelaide Oval, and then we've got Freo. It's there. Brisbane. I guess we'll be boring again, Geelong, Brisbane, but yeah. So I guess pretty boring this ladder. It's pretty. Oh, and I'd like to see some of the other sides jump up here, but I just can't see the large gap. Maybe St Kilda. Leaving your thoughts. Am I wrong? It's hard to tell. I mean, one of these is going to be wrong. I just know it. No, there's usually one team that surprises everyone, like Adelaide last season. I just don't know who's it going to be.